on.
Okay, I'll go find it
I
and
am
then I will
recording.
share it.
So I believe it is on my
I think it's
page.
on.
We just have to find it. We are live somewhere, wherever this somewhere is. Here
Yeah,
we
I think
are.
there it is. I think that's no,
Okay.
that's last week. Let me go
I
find
have
the
it here. I'm going to share. We're going to hop into our group End Anxiety and Depression Forever. As I find it, here we go. And we'll go stream right in here.
Is it streaming yet on our group?
It's about to stream live in just a second. How to find the message in the mess. That's what we're talking about today. The
Like
message, not the massage, the message in the mess.
massage in the message.
All right.
Oh, there it is.
So
Okay, I'm gonna share it.
we are live in the group. We are live on my public page, and we are going to be live on Ralph's pages in just a moment. So as we're getting everything set up here, welcome, welcome. It is Wednesday. Katie Cavenagh here with Ralph Havens, talking about today. We have this amazing topic on how to find the message in the mess. So there are intense emotions that we have the pleasure of dealing with on a daily basis. And the way that we handle these emotions can either leave us feeling victimized or they can leave us feeling empowered. So when we have these intense emotions that come up, I'll speak from my own experience with depression. And anytime that these triggers get activated within me, I have a choice. So I can either give in to those emotions and go down the spiral and start thinking, oh, I'm such a horrible person, or how could this happen? Why this? Why that? Oh no, here comes the downward spiral onto the couch for a day of tears. Now, when that happens, there's nothing wrong with giving into that. If that is what you need to do, if that is what your body is saying, hey, this needs to be released, this is what you need to do today, then do it. The I don't want to say a problem, but the issue arises when it's day after day after day after day of making that same choice to give into these emotions. And yes, we do have to allow them to be felt fully so they can work through us. But we also have the opportunity to take a look at what is happening and see if there's something within all of that mess that we're going through that is available for us to grasp onto, some sort of guidance or a solution, or at least some sort of awareness. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I am going to push this over to Ralph to talk a little bit about how we can use these intense emotions to our benefit.
Awesome, Katie. So good to see you. So good. I love these once a week sessions in our group, the Anxiety and Depression Forever group. So you know what I was I think I'll start with a story because something happens sometimes when I feel anxiety or depression or something just doesn't feel right. And I love the way we can ask a question and you're the master of words of noticing when you're using words that are not useful and using words that might be more useful and figuring out which ones would be good to do. And one thing that there's a couple of things that come to mind. One is kind of a funny story um, that I got out of a book called Influence, but it's a really interesting thing where we know that the medical system has medical errors. Things happen sometimes, and it's been well documented, and they've studied it, and they're trying to figure out like how to minimize medical errors. First do no harm kind of thing. And they were talking about a study or a thing that happened. I don't know if they were reviewing a chart but anyway, a doctor had ordered somebody had an earache in the hospital, some sort of infection, and he had ordered eardrops for the doctor for the client for the patient. And so there it was in the chart, and he put R for right. He said apply these drops, this drug to the right, but he put R ear. And what the nurse did was went in and put it in the rear. She put it on the patient's butt. And I'm like, oh my God. And so that's kind of just a funny one. But there was a study where they were studying this medical errors, and they were like, okay, let's do this. Let's see, because there's a thing that goes with what's called authority, and I want to just talk about it briefly, and then because there's a way to like tune into your own truth, no matter who's telling you what. And I think that would be really useful these days under such amazing times where we're getting told to do a lot of stuff, and some of it might be causing a lot of anxiety and depression and like feeling like there's no hope. And so I want to give us a way to kind of figure out what's true for us, for you. And so they did this study where they said how much authority, because authority seems to be like a trigger. You know, if a doctor tells you something, it's like, oh well, they must know, and they're very important, and they've got a lot of skills, and they've obviously studied this, and so in a lot of cases that's really true. But they did a study, and what they did was they took um, a person calling a nurse's station and saying that they were a doctor in that hospital, but they weren't. They were just a researcher. And the doctors told the nurse, go deliver this one drug at this dose to this one patient, a very particular patient. And it was a lethal dose. And she had never met the doctor. She had never, she just was told, he just told her that he was the doctor in the hospital. And she was literally going to the patient's room. And then the researchers stopped her and said, no, you were part of a study. We're trying to minimize medical errors. And so that's just an interesting thing. And of course, doctors wouldn't dare do anything that was like, that they knew was wrong. Good doctors, but there can be some issues when an authority tells us. I mean, it went down to even the Garden of Eden. God said, don't eat this fruit. And then later we tell this story over and over again, like, see, they did what was against authority, and they paid the price. And so there's all this like built-in, like, do what the authority says. And that's really useful for society when, it's like you teach your kids not to cross the street if there's traffic, and to obey traffic laws, and to pay your taxes. And, there's certain things, but sometimes something happens that isn't quite right. And it might even be, if you're dealing with anxiety or depression, we used to tell a joke of when another president was in many years ago, we would tell this joke, if you're supposed to be the president, but you're the janitor in some building, you might have some anxiety or depression, or something might not feel right. Something might be gnawing at you if you're supposed to be the president. And then we kind of joked around and said, and if you're the president, but you're supposed to be the janitor, maybe you would also feel some anxiety. So what I think, what I feel like seeing what Katie thinks and how we go about this is like, when you have anxiety or depression, there might be some good words or questions, ways to kind of like access what's really true for you, and how to clear whatever that is, because maybe the anxiety and depression are there to protect you, or to tap you on the shoulder, or to say, hey, I know this seems like a thing that you're supposed to do, but maybe you should be doing something else. So I'd like to see what you think of that, and see where this goes.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to be like, yeah, it's tapping you on your shoulder saying that something's not right. And when you were talking, it made me think of something that my parents used to say to me when I was young, which was like, if Billy was going to jump off a bridge, would you go jump off a bridge too? And so it kind of goes with the same thing, like, why are we just blindly following a quote quote authority figure? And authority figure can even be brought down to being a bully on the playground. It's like, why are we following what this person is doing if it doesn't necessarily resonate in the right way with us? And so, yeah, when we're getting these little pings of, hey, you might want to question this, what do we do in those situations? Most of the time we ignore it, right? And
Mhm.
we just kind of go along and follow the herd. Well, I want to bring it back. If the herd is running off the cliff, are you really going to make that choice? Is that the best choice for you? And is there something inside of you saying, hey, let's question this? And so I think that one thing we could do is to just when we are faced with these situations is to just take a breath and just check in with ourselves. That's the one thing we don't do enough,
Yeah.
is to just check in and say, well, how am I really feeling in this moment? What is going on with me in this moment? Right? And I think when we start to do that, then we have the ability to create that space for ourselves to have that awareness of, well, this doesn't quite seem right, or yes, this does seem right. And again, here we go, David Hawkins with the muscle testing. That's
Oh,
a really easy way. Granted, he does say that there is still a 30% chance of error, but you're going to get a much clearer yes or no by doing the muscle testing than if you were to just ask your brain, oh, is this right? And asking the right kind of questions is really, really important if you're going to get the right kind of answer that you want. Just saying, is this a good decision? That's not going to get you a really great answer, because I use this with relationships. If you're going to question your truth and question the truth about, say a new partner, and you say, is this relationship good for me? And you muscle test and you get a yes. And then it ends up that you get just emotionally destroyed. Well, that was good for you, so you could learn a lesson.
yeah.
Meanwhile, if you asked, is this person monogamous? Is this person trustworthy? Is this person already married? Does this person lie a lot? Then you would get different answers, and you could have potentially saved yourself a massive amount of heartache. So you can do the
Yeah.
same thing when we're questioning these beliefs of going with the herd and what kind of anxiety that brings up. You can always do the work by Byron Katie and just ask the first question, is this true? And
Wow,
see
that's
what
so
happens.
wonderful. It reminds me when I was in college, I was finishing up at Texas A&M, and I didn't want to be a medical doctor. I realized, no, that's not it. And my motivation was, well, I would have to work so hard and take so much time, and I wouldn't be able to run 100 miles a week, because that's what I was, a runner. And and um and so I went down a different road, and then somebody said, "Oh, what about physical therapy?" And I thought, well, that would be cool, because I went and volunteered, and it looked like, well, I could do that job and still run 100 miles a week. And so that was my motivation. But I remember years later when we were up here, we were about to move out to Mount Baker and try to be homesteaders. It didn't work out. but but I remember being around the trails of Bellingham, and Ben was only like 2, and and I thought, oh, he's going to have such a good life here. And I love the trails and the people and everything. And I love the people out by the mountain too. But I had a thought as we were buying that house up by the mountain. I had this thought like, oh no, my life is going to end here, but it'll be okay. We'll be out there. We'll be safe. But I thought the whole lifestyle of being a runner in a town that's built for running with all these trails, and this whole lifestyle I saw that we could have, we were kind of retreating and running from something at the time. To figure that part out later. And when I got out there, it did seem like a wrong decision on a lot of levels. On the other hand, I learned a lot, and a lot of the stuff I do now in the world wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had to go through that tough time. So that's quite interesting. But I had a little ding that said, "Oh no, my life's going to end. It's like I'm going to go just do this thing." And it's like, how do you pay attention to those things and ask the right question? Like, is it like an anxiety thing, a depression thing, and or like like, wow, I wonder if that's the right question, and then going inside and just hanging out? Or what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that we're faced with this dilemma when it comes to big decisions. Moving is a big one. And even, we can even put that in today's world with everything with COVID. Those are big decisions, whether you get vaccinated, you don't get vaccinated, the big decision, right? So this can pertain to anything in life where there's that part of you that's always going to feel like you're missing out on something, right? If I move here,
Oh,
I'm perhaps going to miss out on X, Y, or Z that could happen here, right? And so we get attached, and what I think it is I think it's just the ego saying, no, you don't get to change, because this is who you are now, and we're going to stay identified with this person. And this is what we run into every single time that we try to do something to change who we are. And that's why we were constantly brushing up against that friction, that uncomfortable feeling when we try to change. And even, changing habits, trying to get rid of a bad habit. Again, the ego's holding on, saying, nope, nope, this is who you are, when you know that you want to be different. And it's that battle, that it's almost like the spirit versus ego, if you will.
Yeah.
And
What do you think of like some people, especially in the spiritual, metaphysical, spiritual kind of law of attraction idea, or that you can manifest stuff out of thin air by being a certain way, and it's got to feel like it's in the flow. The idea, like sometimes it's uncomfortable to do what's the right thing for you on a big level, and it's easy to not move. um, it's like, well, I don't feel it right now. I don't feel like doing that work, or making this thing happen in my life. It's like, it should be easier than that. It doesn't feel right. But it's like, but then for the people that push through and learn, take some chances and risks and go to the uncomfortable places, looking back, it's like, oh, that was the best decision. But in the moment, it can feel like, oh, why am I doing this really hard thing right now?
yeah.
How do you use words, or how do you use questions, or how do you access what to do when it's like, it sure doesn't feel like the flow because this doesn't feel very comfortable. I'm pushing into all my buttons, or you do something.
Yeah, those are those moments, if and when like when you're meant for something, you have that feeling. And yeah, you're going to come up against situations that might be really uncomfortable, that might be really scary, that are filled with doubt. But if and that path is there for you, and you feel that pull within you, that connection towards whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, then it's just a matter of saying, this might just be a fear that I'm holding about being somebody new, about having to be an unknown version of me. That's really
Wow.
scary. I know for myself, like when I'm up against that level, I retreat and I fall back into my old patterns because I am terrified to show up as someone else who I have never met before.
I love it.
And so it's like when you get to those points, and again, this is why coaches have coaches. I worked with a
Yeah.
wonderful coach a few months ago for a few sessions to get me over that point. And she did exactly that. She had words of wisdom for me that was like, if you really are meant to be this person, then you're going to come up against situations that you're fearful about. But
Yeah.
it's at the same time, how badly do you want to be that new person? How badly do you want that new thing? You know? And it's
Yeah.
asking yourself, do I want that more than I want to hide behind my fear or
Yeah.
whatever it is stopping me?
It's kind of like
Right.
the Hobbit. The Hobbit didn't really want to leave his little Hobbit land. It was pretty comfortable, but there
Yeah.
was something. He had a little bit of that chook. What is it called?
Mhm.
Chook or whatever in him. That was like an adventurer, and he was
Yes.
supposed to go figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is what's meant for you is going to happen. Like
Yeah.
you will find yourself being pulled. So if it's like if you're meant to move to another country,
Yeah.
then you're going to start to feel stuff that is like, okay, well, maybe I should start to think about this. Oh, well, this happened. Maybe I should rethink where my living situation's currently going. You're going to get those little moments, those little love notes from the universe
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, you're meant for something else. You need to pay attention." And eventually, if you're not paying attention, the universe is going to come and smack you across the face and say, "Wake up." And I've been there several times, and it really is a wake up call when that happens, but it makes you pay attention. And
Yeah.
once you make that shift, you start to feel so much lighter. You start to feel different. Like, okay, I stepped
Yeah.
into what it is I meant to do. Sure, there was a little bit of fear. I had to get over an uncomfortable situation, but look at where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was going out with this one woman, and we both, she said something that was kind of funny, and I thought, no, that's true. She goes, I really like hanging out with you. It's awesome. We're the best of friends. It was just so fun. And she says, I can see myself spending my whole life with you. And I was like, yeah, that's true. It would be kind of cool. And she goes, I just don't see myself marrying you. And I thought, Yeah, that's true too. And so, but the funny thing was, I had this ankle that I had sprained really severely. I probably broke it, and I had to get a lot of treatment from my friend Joe. And in 4 days, he fixed it up quite a bit. And but then ever since then, when I would like go on a date with her or something, I would like almost sprain again, and my ankle would get a little sore. And to this day, if my ankle gets a little sore, I can test things, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a mental emotional thing. I'm kind of off. I'm askew here. Something's not right. And so the joint would actually be askew, and so then it was like hurting. It wasn't lining up. And then when I would do my muscle testing, and kind of check in, like we call it windows in some of the stuff we use, but it's muscle testing to see what's true. It's like, oh, there it is. And I would get clarity, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm getting information about this. And so you and I both have ways to, when something happens that causes anxiety or fear or depression or some unease or some kind of like, something's not right here, a way to check in. And then, and like you said, it might be the wrong question you're asking. Um, what would you recommend for people to like start to go? I mean, we have the peace process, which is also the letting go process, the surrender process. There's ways that we've really both explored beyond where we first even learned it. But there's ways to clear stuff once you start to get this angst or you have depression. Sometimes you don't even know why you have a depression or an anxiety, but there's a way to go clear it, whatever it is, even without having to figure out, am I in the right place or doing the right thing? But what would you recommend for people to like start to go down this road of tuning into what they're supposed to do, and then clearing anything in them that's part of this whole thing? Like, how do you like to play with that?
Yeah. So a couple things that I do is when I sit down and do this work, I make a contract with myself, no judgment.
No, oh, I
And
like it.
that is the most important thing, because a lot of times when we're doing this work, things will come up and we judge them. We're like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. Or, it's been so long since this one thing happened. Why am I this way? And I'm so angry that I still feel this way, and we judge ourselves.
Yeah.
So first things first is, as you are, doing any kind of work, sitting down to even just check in with yourself, no judgment. However you feel is perfectly fine and is necessary in the moment. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I always ask, what am I feeling right now? And I just sit with that question. What am I feeling right now? And I don't try to label it. I'm like, okay, what am I feeling? And I'm looking for those sensations within my body. And, one thing that we say as we're doing this peace process is to stay out of the mind. So I take that a step further, really staying out of the mind, not saying, well, this is anger or, whatever I might be feeling. I'm just like, okay, just what am I feeling and where am I feeling it?
Yeah.
And it's just really, it's again, whenever something comes in the mind, it's acknowledging the fact that there's something there, but again, just bringing the attention back to the body and or the breath. Because once we get hooked in those stories and in whatever's going through the mind, then that actually, those thoughts will change what's happening in your body. So that's the scientific reason to not get attached to those thoughts. Because if you have a thought that comes in that brings anger, your cells are going to change to reflect that emotion. And so
Yeah.
therefore the whole process of surrendering is kind of put on hold because you are indulging in this one particular emotion. So that's what we try to what we're trying to do as we say stay out of the mind, so that you don't get hooked into these thoughts, so you can let whatever it is you're feeling just do its thing and release itself, right? Because again, the cells hold on to every single experience we've ever had. They hold on to words, they hold on to emotions, they hold on to visuals, they hold on. And every time that we get triggered, we're literally reliving those situations. And that's how this energy keeps coming up. That's how these triggers stay in place, is because every time they come up, we don't deal with them. And if we just say, as they come up, okay, no judgment, I'm feeling something, I'm just going to feel it. in this moment, that will help release it. It will help to release those trigger moments that you tend to come up against. And the more you do this, then the less you will get triggered on certain things. And eventually, when you are at neutral, when, somebody cuts you off in traffic and all of a sudden you're not swearing or giving them the finger or, yelling obscenities out the window, then you know that you have healed that. And
Yeah.
really, all it is just really being able to sit with that feeling and let it go through you without judgment. And I know I keep saying no judgment, no judgment, no judgment, and I think that's the hardest part,
Yeah.
is to kind of take that whole aspect out of it and just physically be present in your body, with your body, in the energy that's happening around you in the moment.
Yeah. To not fight whatever is happening and sit in the body without calling it fear or anxiety or that you're right and they're wrong. It's like just sitting with the feeling is so key. It's so simple. I think it's like David R. Hawkins says it. He says that's why he thinks so many people don't do it. It's just so simple. It's like, well, it can't be that. And we are all used to trying to like win arguments, but it's a way I think to bypass a lot of the instinctual triggers that can be really beneficial for us as humans to follow authority, play by the rules. That all works well if everybody's doing things to help each other out. But there's a lot of stuff that might be like not quite like that, and so um, one thing that could be useful maybe is like if something or some idea or some person pushes our buttons, some of the political figures or some of the mandates or whatever ideas people have around like what's right, what's the right course of action for the people to take, then just going inside and feeling the feeling without any judgment, just like, everybody's been wrong. I know I've been wrong a lot. And so it might be good just to kind of examine the data, but even before that, just go in and feel the feeling so that because once that feeling is felt, I've noticed it too, is that it's done. And when it's done, it's like you don't feel the feeling and you think of the issue. I had a client the other day that I said, "So what's up for you?" And she goes, "Oh, the men in my house." And so she had, she had a house, a family of men, and she didn't even want to talk about it, and I didn't need to hear it. And so then she did that technique. She went and felt the feeling, and and then she's like, "Okay, I don't feel the feeling." And then I said, "So now, when you think of the men and what happened?" She's like, "Oh God, there it is again." And it was a physical feeling. So she went and did it again, and finally it was done. And I said, "Okay, so now when you think of the men and what happened, how does it feel?" And she goes, "Huh, I really don't care." And she laughed. And then she got up, and I always have her test before and after. I love testing physical things. And she was really looser. Like her body was physically looser, lighter. She laughed. She's like, "Oh my God, this happens every time." Like you go and whatever causes us our angst, like you said, go feel the feeling without judgment. And my experience is we're not trying to make it go away, but it will go away. And when it does, you can test it with the offending thought or person or belief or whatever that was. And at some point, it won't cause the feeling. The feeling won't seem to be there. And then it's kind of cool to test the physical body. I love testing, a physical therapist trained, go physically feel, because my experience is people will feel lighter, better, looser, and so they get a very right away direct evidence that, oh my goodness, this was worth doing. And then maybe you'll do this simple process of feeling the feeling.
Yes, I love that you just told the story, because it's so true. We hold everything in our bodies, right? And by testing, then we have that ability to literally see. We have physical proof that this works. So, but I want to come back to something that you had said about being wrong. And this it just sort of clicked for an instant here, where I'm pretty sure it was David Hawkins who was talking about this, where truth is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I
Wow.
know I learned this in my NLP training, where whatever you believe, whatever a person believes to be true will be true for them, and that it will show up in their life as true. So if for instance you believe fully that the sky is purple, then the sky is purple to you. It will show up as purple. Okay, that's a really like random thing, but for instance, if you believe that the world is a cruel, cold place, that's going to be your life experience, right? So, whatever we believe is true for us. So, when we say, oh, you're wrong, to
Mm.
somebody else, then what we're saying is basically, you don't believe what I believe. And that's really it. That's all we're saying is you don't believe what I believe. And then from there you can go on and say, and so therefore you're wrong and whatever else you want. But the truth, when we get back to like the truth and how do we know what is the truth? Well, it's different for everyone. There's no one size fits all sort of thing. And I think what's happening is, especially in politics right now, and with these mandates and with everything with COVID, that there is a blanket one size fits all kind of truth, if you will. Um, and that right there, because it might not resonate with all of us, it's one person's truth. And if it's not our truth, then what do we experience? We experience those feelings of fear, of uncertainty, of
Yeah,
anxiety, of depression, of grief, of guilt, of resentment, of anger,
yeah,
and that's just because that we're not resonating with somebody else's truth.
that's so valuable because it's like there's the people that are wearing masks, the people that aren't wearing masks, and they each look at each other like they're trying to kill you.
Yeah. And it's just basically we believe different things.
Yeah,
And that's all it is. And what's happening is we're just not holding respect for the fact that
yeah,
people believe different things.
yeah.
And
That's so good to hear.
and I think that's one of the things that comes up with this anxiety and the depression that a lot of us are experiencing. I mean, I know for me it's been 3 weeks of just feeling really just awful
Mm.
and not knowing why, but saying that I'm not okay. I am totally 100% not okay. And I have not been okay, but I'm okay with saying that I'm not okay because there's something within this not okayness. There's something in here for me to learn, right?
Yeah,
There's something valuable for me to
yeah,
extrapolate from these 3 weeks of just feeling like crap.
yeah,
And granted, I haven't necessarily found it yet. I've found wonderful, wonderful gifts within this chaos, within this madness, within this
yeah.
mess. I find myself, I can't tell you how many times in the course of these 3 weeks I have sobbed in the shower because it's gotten to that point where I just don't know what to do. And by allowing myself these moments of just collapse, it really feels like collapse, and just giving in and just feeling it, I tell you, I feel so much better after allowing all of that to just move through and just accepting the fact that, like, okay, things don't feel right now. Well, am I going to go back into my old patterns that are coming
Oh,
back up? No. I have fallen back into some of those old patterns, but I'm not the same person that I was last year when I dealt with this. And
and
so
it's like you're
therefore,
not saying just wallow in the misery. It's like you take it deeper and then you go feel the feeling without the judgment of this is a certain emotion like fear, anger, despair, depression. It's like you go and feel it. That's so key. And I'd love the way you use words because sometimes it's just so perfect to say a question and then go feel the response in your body and stay with that. I've been watching, and if anybody wants, let me know and I'll send you the link. A guy that I just love, Patrick Gentempo, and he's a chiropractor. And this is interesting. He chiropractor, but then he went down a road of alternative health and healing, and there's so much stuff that censors people now. Paul Thomas, great doctor from Portland, is now censored and lost his medical license for doing nothing but good and publishing a peer-reviewed research article. And so he now has a show, and it's not on YouTube because it's censored, but he's got his own show, And Dolores Cahill, a PhD from Dublin, highest levels of expertise and science around all sorts of stuff with virology and that sort of thing, has been censored and lost all of her credentials in her university setting. And but she started an airline called Freedom Airways. And so, you can travel without a mask. And so it's like there's a way to take anything and go, oh, this is maybe like a blessing. And Patrick Gentempo last night in the series I'm watching, and let me know if you want the link. He said he always likes to go. I forgot what he called it, like the beauty project. His words are, I wonder where the beauty in this is. Like not like that's his word, could be blessing or but then what we would do, I wonder where the beauty of this is. Instead of like trying to figure it out, you can be open to whatever pops into your mind, but go in your body and just feel the feeling that brings up when you think, I wonder where the beauty in this is. The beauty, are you kidding me? This is like a disaster. It's like, okay, hang on, so there's a beauty here, huh? Okay. But you can feel the feeling, and then sitting with that, sometimes it doesn't take that long. That's what I like about this letting go process, this peace process, is sitting with the feeling without judging it, and sitting precisely with where it is. It can go pretty quick. And then you think you might have an epiphany and go, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to start an airline or whatever that is. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there's wonderful, when we do this work, actually, let me back it up a little bit more here. When you're saying looking for the beauty, we're really talking here about gratitude and
Oh
appreciation,
yeah.
and when we're in a situation that is just, forgive my French, but when we're in a situation that's pure shit,
Yeah,
and
devastating.
we can say to ourselves, I know there's a lesson. I know there's a blessing. What is it?
Yeah,
That's putting us on that vibration of gratitude. And when we are on that vibration of gratitude, so much space is created that is just open for new awareness, wisdom, knowledge, guidance, love, compassion, understanding. We are opened up on a
so good.
completely different level when we can shift from saying, why me,
Yeah.
to something like, okay, try me,
And
you
instead
know?
of judging somebody else's wrong, my little boy is really good at that. He catches me so much. I see it in his little face. He's like, and he'll tell me, yeah, yeah. Oh, isn't that interesting? When Jen, my wife, tells me something like that, I'm like, but it's like, I'm right. But then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're right. Go inside, let it go. You're judging it as wrong, even though it sure looks wrong.
Yeah. And again, it goes back. I always go back to Byron Katie and ask, is it true?
Is
Is
it
this
true?
really true?
And then after that, is it true? Then go inside and feel whatever it brings up.
Yeah.
That's
And I
such
think that's the quickest way to get
a
your truth.
way.
Yeah.
It's what we both found. We have both found that. And I'm so grateful for that, because it turns everything into, the onus is now on us to just go sit with it. Even if we're completely right, even if we're 100% right, we might get data a year later. They're like, oh my God, I wasn't totally right on that. There was this other aspect. But in the moment, we might feel like this is so right and they are so wrong. But is it true? And then not needing to go figure it out in the moment and saying, yes, this is true, but to go feel the feeling that it brings up. So important.
Yeah. It's amazing what can happen just from tuning in and allowing yourself to just feel something. I
Yeah,
think
allow
we've been
yourself
so
to feel.
programmed to
Wow.
not feel and to
Yeah.
say, no, I'm going to deny this, or no, I'm going to avoid this, or no, it's not okay for me to break down in the middle of Walmart in the bath aisle and cry.
Yeah.
True story. But,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like if you don't feel what you need to feel, it's like, again, it's like being that soda bottle where, you just keep shaking it up and eventually you're going to pop the top and everything goes out. So instead of being a soda bottle, be the water bottle, because if you shake the water bottle, it's not going to explode, right? If you shake
Yeah.
the soda
And you know
bottle,
what?
it will. So It's really
Yeah.
about just going with the flow and being okay with not being okay, and being okay with allowing yourself to feel the stuff that you don't want to feel.
And it doesn't take the, it's not like you're saying, just stay in the same situation. Like, if it's an abusive thing going on, yeah, it's good. Is this really true? You know, somebody, in an abusive relationship or something like that, and then going in and feeling it. But from that place of peace, somebody might be able to, at that point, say, no, I'm going to move, or I'm out of here, or I'm going to change something. But instead of just like, being against somebody to then change it, it's like there's no fight. It's like you could still leave physically or do something different in life, but it's without the charge of, something that pushes your buttons.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we act from that emotionally intensified place, then we're not always responding from clarity. We're
Yeah,
responding, we're responding from an emotional
a reflex.
yeah, reflex, I think is a great way to say it. Yeah,
Yeah,
as
you know,
opposed to a
you move
response.
on words, and you mentioned NLP, and, words do matter. You said something before that was so cool about how few words we use, and so it's important to use the right words. And sometimes it's easy for us to spot it in other people, like, well, golly, you're just so negative. No wonder my life sucks. But, or you're criticizing everything. It's easy to see. And then how do you see it in yourself, or suggest people, can find that? Because it can be such a reflex. Like, you just do what you're told, or stay in this thing, or keep fighting your thing, and never kind of going back inside. Like,
Yeah.
how do you use word? How do you know when you're using words that are,
I
yeah,
I think part of it is you have to have a certain level of consciousness already to know what's coming out of your mouth. And, because a lot of times we just talk, it's
yeah, yeah,
autopilot. There's no conscious thought behind the words that are coming out. And by doing this kind of work, again, of just sitting with what you feel, that allows that space. And so you start to think differently because you actually have space in your head where you can think.
yeah,
And it's about finding that space before you say anything, right? And finding that space to allow yourself to choose the correct words for that situation, to choose powerful words. Again, just to allude back to what we were talking about before, I was mentioning that only about 7% of communication is done verbally. And so I know it's such a small percentage, and so that's why words matter so much, right? And I want to say it's something like 58% or something like that is physiological, and I forget the other one. Again, but it's really how are we holding this energy within us, because that is what is causing us to have those autopilot reactions, those snap reactions, those reflexes, if
yeah,
you will. It's because of everything that's subconsciously held within us, these patterns of reactivity, because we get triggered, the external stimulus triggers us, right? We internalize, we have an internal representation of what that is, which is an emotion. So that vibration gets activated, and then bam, there's our reaction.
yeah,
And so this level of consciousness comes in, this space, if you will, from getting in tune with what's actually happening in our bodies, so we can get present with what we're feeling. So
yeah,
it's not just up here out in the middle of nowhere all the time. No, we're grounded. We have the ability to take a
yeah.
breath and say, okay, what are facts? What are the facts of the situation around me? What is subjective
Yeah,
perception?
yeah,
And how am I going to respond?
yeah. And, um, and so it is a really wonderful thing the way we both use this, process on the fly. Like, something happens, something triggers. Oh, where is it? Something happens, something triggers. Where is it? And it's also useful to develop the skill to find a trigger, sit with it till it clears, and you have your links for the meditation practice that people can get, and I have a link. We both have multiple ways that people can get this for free, because it's like, if it resonates with somebody, we have ways to go there and learn. It's a skill. It's a skill to, like, because it's so easy to be in automatic mode, and it's built into our DNA from the Garden of Eden, even, that authority says this, you do that. If you don't do that, bad things happened. See, bad things happened, and so do what you're told by the authorities, and that's a really strong social trigger that can be useful, like a child that doesn't run in the street in front of a car, but it can be um, devastating if it's like, sit in your school desk and just go get a job that you're going to hate, and then when you're 65 you can take bus tours and you'll be okay. It's like and then and so then people wonder, why do I feel so anxious? Why am I depressed? It's like, I'm doing what I was told. So what's the best way for them? I mean, I hope everybody shares this and likes it and hearts it, so more people see it. And because Katie and I have figured some stuff out, and we're just on the path, and but if it resonates with you, there's a way to use this process, and it's simple, but it really works to develop that skill, to ask the right questions, or questions that are useful, to notice when you're just triggered, and then to take responsibility and go find it in your body and let it run its course, so you have that space for clarity. I'd love to just share our link, just so people can get that for free. And if it resonates, share it with people. What's the best way for them to find it for you?
You can find me on my website, feelyourlight.com. Everything is up there. There's a whole bunch of freebies and more coming soon. So yeah, definitely check that out. I'll put the link below. And you can also, I put stuff in the group as well. Feel Your Light, Ignite Your Awareness. So that's a private group. There's a lot of stuff that's shared in there that is more along the lines of getting back in tune with your energy, and why feeling all of these feels is so important. And other things that you can do to literally ignite your awareness and just become a more conscious person. Again, the more you can get present, the more presence life will give to you. It's called the present because it's a gift. It really is. And there's so many gifts that are available to us if we are just open to receiving them. And again, by just getting in tune with what you are feeling, allowing yourself to feel what you feel, so that way you can heal and you can clear all this stuff so you don't have to deal with it ever again. That is the gift of freedom. And let me tell you, freedom feels damn good.
Yeah, and I know one of my clients, she had a great result with me. We went to completion where it was like, oh, I don't feel it, and then she tried it on her own for 20 minutes, and she said a bunch of depression, really depression came up. So I gave this analogy, because that's like, if you don't go all the way to the end, it can feel icky. It doesn't mean that you didn't do a good job. It just means that there's still some stuff sitting there, and it's kind of like cleaning a house. Like, if you pick up the house and clean everything up, someone comes in and goes, oh, this place looks good. If you go and you go, okay, you know what, that's spring cleaning time. Let's move the refrigerator away from the wall. Let's move this away. Let's go look under all these rugs. Let's clear all these stuff out of the closets. And you clear out a whole bunch of stuff, but you don't get it done. Somebody walks into the house and they go, oh my God, this house is a mess. It's like, well, it's actually cleaner, but it's in process. So you can use that meditation you have on your site. And ours is ralphhavens.com/peace process. It's just a way to get a 19-minute version of this. And it can go to 0 when it's like you feeling what's happening in your body and feel really light. It can also go part way down and you've uncovered something that's icky. And you might think, oh my goodness, this caused an ickiness. I don't want to do that again. But it's like, no, you just uncovered some stuff. It didn't cause it. It just brought it up. And even if you're having a tough time, just do it longer and do it longer and do it longer. My Qigong teacher, Ming Tong, somebody would say, oh, Ming Tong, it brought up all this sadness and grief. And he'd be, wonderful, wonderful. And then someone else would come up and was like, oh, I feel so great. It's like, wonderful, wonderful. So I encourage people to just give it a go and reach out to Katie and reach out to me, and we can guide you, because it can be stuff that makes you go, I don't want to do that again. That felt icky.
Yeah.
But if you go through and clear one of those really well, where it's like, it's gone, it's like, I don't feel it, really good. So yeah, so it's what did you say the first one again? Your link?
Oh, my link is feelyourlight.com.
Feelyourlight.com. Okay. And ralphhavens.com /peace process. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure people had that, because I know we've been talking about it and how to use it, and we've been telling them how to do it, but it's kind of really good to have a walkthrough with somebody. So I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and I know that, I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we did kind of a live demo. So there is a video of that, and I'm sure that we'll be doing it again at some point for everyone.
Yeah, look on Katie's YouTube, and I will be putting them on my YouTube too. So we just want you guys to have a way to start to use this, because it's been big for both of us. And reach out, because we'll give you some pointers along the way.
Yeah. So let us know what you thought of this video. If you have any questions, definitely put them in the comments or reach out to us personally. And we will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, to talk to you more about this peace process and letting go, and how to rid yourself of anxiety and depression forever. So thank you so much for being here, Ralph. And thank you everyone out there in internet land for watching. We will see you next week.
Thank you, Katie. Bye, everybody.
All right. And we are going to